Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look back at what could be a very important Kentucky Derby prep race, the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes at 1 1/16. As they break from the gate, let's watch the number 3. That is Uncontested, who had just come off a big Buyer Speed victory in the Smarty Jones Stakes. This was a horse who got away with an easy lead over a wet track. He's going fast here. Didn't find much in the stretch.
Yeah, fast pace, fast race. He gets right to the front here, and he does not go slow up there. The problem with giving him too much credit for the pace that he cuts in this race, and it is a fast one, is that the horse that's keeping right up with him there, the 8 Petrov, I mean, he's never far away from this thing, and he runs right by this horse at the top of the stretch.
I'm really becoming a fan of Little Petrov.
Yeah, he's a hard try.
Same situation as in the Smarty Jones, chasing Uncontested in the early portion of this race. He did much better this time out over fast ground, and the fractions are solid. 22-4 for the quarter, 46-2 for the half mile. All right. Let's talk about the horse that eventually wins this race for Todd Pletcher, the number 11 one-liner who's sitting in a very nice spot in 4th position. And as in his previous 2 races, John Velazquez is pushing him along, to keep him interested. And for a brief instant, it looks like he's going to get outpaced on the turn, but he's resolute and he keeps on going.
Yeah, he runs a really nice race because he's another one. He was never that far away from this pace. Now, he was a little bit further off it than Petrov was, but he was never that far away from it. And he's working hard through the second turn to keep up with it. But boy, does he finish in this race. I mean, he comes for Petrov. Look at Petrov take over right now. Uncontested is all done. He's going to throw in the towel right here. Petrov has a clear advantage off the turn here. This one-liner comes for him, though, and runs right by him. The final 1/8 of a mile, he comes right by this horse, and then he finishes.
And there's no one else really coming at the end of the day. Looking at Lee making his seasonal debut, a clunk up for 3rd. Not only was this race visually impressive, not only did one-liner and Petrov try hard, but this was a fast race.
Yeah.
One-liner popped a 1:02 Buyer Speed figure, and all of a sudden he has got to be squarely on the radar of top 3-year-old contenders. He's a Pletcher Velazquez product. He's undefeated from 3 lifetime starts. He is obviously well connected, and the connections have already said, one more before the Derby. Only one more.
Yeah, only one more prep. We'll see how that works out for them. He ran great in this race. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what he does as an encore here. Wherever they run him, we'll see what he does, because he was impressive in his first 2 starts sprinting, but he took it to another level. This was a fast race, and it's not like one of those situations where Uncontested went fast, he fell apart, Petrov chased him down, he fell apart. This horse, he was up close almost the entire way, and he overran these horses in the stretch.
He is by Into Mischief, who stands for $75,000 at Spendthrift in Kentucky. Into Mischief also has Practical Joke as a leading 3-year-old contender. But for the most part, the Into Mischiefs have been milers. Horses like Golden Sense and Vijack, and Practical Joke even last year sort of gave the impression of being a miler. It'll be interesting to see how far one-liner, $150,000 short yearling purchase wants to go. The dam is a half to a Grade 2 placed runner. Gold Rush Gal, I believe, placed at 1 1/16. It's the family of Daredevil, who won the Champagne, family of Albertus Maximus, who won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but I think also won the Don at 1 1/8.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of
middle distance.
Yeah, a lot of middle distance in that pedigree. So we'll see how far he wants to go. Very encouraging first step, stretching out here, though. He ran really well on Monday.
His debut was very good at Saratoga. He had his 2-year-old problems with shins. He came back at Gulf. You don't beat Todd at Gulf. This was a big step. First time, 2 turns, he passed it. Now, what do you think of this whole one prep race after this? He'll have 2 races going into the Derby this year. Todd's saying it's going to be either 4 or 5 weeks out. And that means Florida Derby, Bluegrass, Wood Memorial. He won't be back at Oaklawn, it appears, for the Arkansas Derby.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. You know how I feel about that stuff. They think less is more. I disagree. We'll see. At least with one-liner, you don't when you watch him, you don't really feel like he's a horse who needs a ton of racing, I guess. I mean, he looks like he knows what he's doing out there, and he's pretty good, but I mean, I don't see why these guys think it's such a big deal if he had 2 more races. What's the problem?
As with one-liner, I'm not sure how far Petrov wants to go ultimately, but I wonder if he deserves another chance. Mike Watchmaker made a very good point in this week's Derby Watch with Jay Pribben, saying he's had to do the dirty work in his last 2 races. I'm curious to see what happens if he sits 3rd or 4th and lets another horse do the dirty work. Maybe his finish is stronger. I'm willing to give him a shot. I just am not sure how far ultimately he wants to go.
I'm not either.
I think he's a good horse.
Yeah, I think he is too. He ran really well. He ran well last time. He ran better on Monday. Sunday.
Looking at least sort of clunked up for third, but it was his first start since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But this is what he's going to be. He's always going to drop 20 lengths out of it. He's going to hope the pace is fast. He's going to come with a run. Personally, I wonder if he's a closing sprinter, but at the end of the day, he probably earned his way into the next one.
Right, it was his first off the left. He's sort of an awkward stumble at the start. He wound up way back off the pace, but you're right. He did. It's not like he came with some kind of big run for third in here. He fairly did clunk up for third.
You were a little bit interested in Silver Dust, Churchill Downs maiden winner towards the end of the 2-year-old campaign. What'd you think of his race?
I thought he ran fine in here. This was probably a little too tough for him. He's another one. He sort of got outrun a little early, but he made a little move up the backstretch, and they were going at that point. He got a little bit closer, and then he just sort of stayed one pace through the stretch, but he's pretty game. He came through between horses. He just missed getting third in there. There's some upside with this horse. He may not want to go too far. I wonder how far he wants to go. There's upside with this horse. Can run.
But all things considered, he deserves another shot.
Oh, yeah.
In the next one or in another major prep race, because he's so lightly racing, he seems to be figuring it out. Now, as for uncontested, can we give him a mulligan? Can we simply say he deserves a break? He's obviously run some fast races. You and I in the preview wondered, would a mile and a 16th really be his wheelhouse? He seems like a miler. He is bred to be a miler or a 7-furlong horse. It's hard for me to imagine this horse all of a sudden getting back to his best form at a mile and an 8th prep race. I think he's talented. I think he's got some speed, but I'm not sure I can give him a mulligan for the point you made. Petrov ran right by him like he was tied to the quarter.
Yeah, and the horses that ran 1-2 didn't come from way out of it. They chased this horse. It's hard. The problem with just saying, you know what, you can't do it, let's turn him back, is when you have a talented 3-year-old at this time.
You want to go on.
He is talented. I mean, why not give him at least one more chance and just see what happens? I feel like he's going to be way better when they cut him back because he's so fast and he's got such easy speed. I mean, he could be pretty tough 7 furlongs to a mile.
Never ride out Todd Pletcher. He's now got one liner on the trail. That Taprit looks like a pretty interesting horse that might be headed for the Tampa Bay Derby. And he's got several down at his base at Gulfstream that have been winning allowance races. He's got one liner. This is one of the faster prep races, a 102 buyer in the Grade 3 Southwest.